right, are we live? All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 16th Litchfield Budget Committee meeting. This is the meeting post-budget hearing that we just closed out. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the agenda, we have public input. Would anybody care to address the Budget Committee?
I guess that's me. I don't know what you're...
Please step up to the microphone. Yep.
Tim Kearns, 1 Brickyard Drive.
Thank you.
Same guy from before.
Welcome back.
Sorry, but not. I guess start from the beginning. Can I answer any questions? How do you want me to do this? I'm speaking to you in general or on particular warrants?
I know you were reading your
Right.
prepared
You guys
letter.
you have a copy, and you don't make me cry again. So
We do. Thank you very much. So why don't you just take us through whatever it is you care to address to the committee tonight?
Okay.
Maybe we can
Yes, sir.
cut it a little bit
Yeah.
easier. As I understand, the issue is your concern that the town is currently providing insurance and that there's a risk that that might be taken away, so you want to solidify that that will be something that will be permanent.
Yeah.
Correct?
Ultimately, yes. The end answer is yes. The ultimate result is to actually ask the town. The way it made its way onto the budget has been very unusual. And it's put me in a heck of a spot. The Attorney General's office, I've been talking to them heavily, and you see in my list, is there's some serious issues with providing a benefit to employees. So we had a guy break his arm at a fire, and he gets supplemental insurance, and that's a benefit to the employees. We are I have to be careful because I'm not speaking to the Litchfield Fire Association, so I'm speaking of them. They are a 501c3, which is the most hardest to get. Every year I write, used to, up to about 6 years ago, used to write an article. We used the Griffin Memorial School for the ham and bean supper, and we generate around $3,000 to pay our insurance bill to cover 47 people. Well, the town started taking that over, worked its way into it, and at this point, I didn't say anything about what was going on because they're paying for it. And if somebody, and it was actually said by a town, I have to be careful. I've been told, be very careful what I say, and very careful about what emails I actually release. I have some, and town has actually didacted some stuff, so I'm trying to carefully walk through this. The Attorney General's office said that we can't pay for the program. The town, and I use that generally, has indicated to me that it's a swoosh of a pen that might just go away. There's a particular meeting on a particular day with a particular person that made some particular statements that made me write this warrant article because, yes, I did feel that that was going to be gone from the budget. And that's what subsequently got me to in touch with the Attorney General's office and said, hey, I need some help with this insurance policy. And then I was instructed of what to do. I have to sign all these disclosures and all this kind of stuff because of the nonprofit status. So when I send out a mail to everybody in town, we're having a ham and bean supper, we're going to spend the money on scholarships and insurance and all that stuff, I have to be very careful of the words that I choose. So now, with this predicament we're in, it's semi-predicament, is years ago they're not going to be mad at someone for buying the insurance. Things have to change. Right now, things have to change.
Why?
The Attorney General has told me to do so. We're following the instructions of the Attorney General's office.
You're saying the town can't provide insurance?
I'm saying that the nonprofit agency, like the Litchfield Firefighters in the state of New Hampshire, and that's what I try to point out, that there's money included this year into the state of New Hampshire. It's never been in previous years. It shows as being previous year, but they just decided to do it December. So they spent $500 December, and now it's incorporated into the budget, and it's now a new benefit program. So we have the Litchfield Firefighters Association, the Litchfield Firefighters Association has a benefit program from Provident, and its policy is $100-400. The state of New Hampshire's Firefighters Association, which the town just joined, okay, for this amount of money, has a $10,000 death, $75 a week coverage. This is in addition to. So I question why we're spending another, it says $15, but the dues are $20, and there's 40 people. So I don't know where that number came from, and that's really confusing to me. I caused one of the big things with the meeting that I can't talk about is I asked some questions about how all of this insurance and stuff's going to work. I asked them in writing, and I've been working for months to try and get an answer to that. Up until these warrant articles were submitted, I couldn't even get an appointment with the Board of Selectmen until after I submitted these warrant articles. So now I'm in the position, I can't talk about them, can't talk about stuff about them, but I got public information to share with you guys, and I'm a rock and a hard place.
Question for the town.
Yes.
What are we providing?
We are providing, as we have for a number of years, we pay for, in its entirety, the policy that is held by the association.
Okay.
That's the 3,300, the estimated, and they actually had locked in a few years, so if you notice, there's a little bit of difference between what we budgeted
Yeah.
and the article, because the multi-year contract's up, but we've been paying that in its entirety.
That's what I thought.
Can I just?
No, not yet.
We added this year membership in the State Firemen's Association, of which one benefit, but not our primary reason for joining, is they offer an additional insurance on top of that. Small dues provides a range of other services for members. The catalyst actually for the conversation was a conversation Chief and I had at one point about some work that he had been doing in an incident where a firefighter had died, and the support they provided to the family and the department. The insurance is incidental. So that was really what kind of drove us to say we should be providing this low dollar amount. We often pay dues for many of our staff on a variety of things.
Okay. Now, my question is that coverage that we talked about, is that satisfactory?
Which coverage?
What you're presently getting right now?
There's two plans, right? So the existing one, yes, right? And the second one, which is the add-on, we get as a
Yeah.
benefit.
Yep.
Is that going to be sufficient?
Actually, one of the big issues, the Firefighters Association has been well aware of the availability of the benefits, but we haven't individually purchased those because in our policy that they pay the $3,700 a year, there's a clause that says that if you're in another insurance policy from the same carrier, it will only pay the maximum amount of the amount issued. So really, the town is wasting $525 because even though you have two insurance policies, the maximum benefit is still the original $100,400 a week. And I've been trying to tell them, and I don't understand why we're doing it. I need to point out that the person that sells and represents the policy is the $19 an hour employee I've been talking about.
Don, is the original $100,000 policy, is that satisfactory to what they're called firefighters?
As stated in the warrant, yes.
So that's okay.
That is me and only me. I do
Yeah,
not
okay, but
represent.
that's what the town's been providing. And there's been no, best of my knowledge, no discussion about it's not enough. So your concern is that because it's in the operating budget, that next year it could be taken out of the operating budget and then you wouldn't have coverage? Is that the concern?
Which one are you talking?
$100,000.
Oh, the
The $3,700.
$3,700 coverage.
Yeah.
Yes, it was stated to me that could disappear at any time.
And that's your major concern? Okay.
Absolutely.
So, and you're trying to lock that in?
Yes, and also, we never, the group nobody ever asked the town to start paying for it. So I figured it was about time that we actually asked you guys.
Actually, that did come up in the Budget Committee meeting many years ago when we pointed out there was a problem there, okay? And then you should be covered. That's beside the point. So there's no reason that I understand that we have to appropriate any money on this article. That what you're trying to do is ensure that the town will provide that coverage. So a non-budget committee issue.
If it's modified deliberative, yeah, because right now it has state's appropriation.
Well, as it stands right now, and
300.
if it stayed this way and wasn't modified, and there's no guarantee being modified at deliberative, by the way, then we've overfunded and that passes, then we've overfunded the operating budget, and we ought to reopen that and cut it by $3,000, which I'm not proposing to do, okay? But it clearly, Tim, there's no reason for for money in this article. It ought to be just stating that you want to get this coverage.
Actually, the trick to it is that the amount of money that's in the budget isn't going to cover the estimated increase.
Tim, it's a bottom line budget.
At that point, that's
It's a
the town's
bottom
fault.
line budget.
They'll deal with it.
Okay.
It's a non-issue. It's
And
just like the other.
And with regard to the comment, right, it's actually very true. Yeah, it could get cut, but this board, the governing body, and the management of the department is always supported, and so is in the budget committee. I think history shows that we are there for the firefighters, and we want to make sure there's coverage.
So you're going to support the article, all right?
I have to tell you, Tim, I'm pretty sure I was part of the Board of Selectmen that moved that into the operating budget because we were concerned that you guys were selling ham and beans down at the school to fund it. And it seemed ludicrous that we would put something as important as insurance on a fundraising activity. So I'll be honest with you, I can't support your warrant article because I just see it being the no means no thing. If it fails, you're going to be selling your possessions if you're really going to pay for that. The town's not going to be able to pay for it.
Right, I understand that.
And I think you know, and I'm sure firefighters that are here in this room knows that I've always supported the fire department.
Yep.
But I can't vote for it. I can't vote yes. We're forced to vote.
You understand that the actual ownership of the policy came into question, and actually the representative from the town indicated they had, because it was paying for, they owned it. So there was very a lot of concern by me as to where this is and what is going. I mean, there's a number. Look at it from my.
I'm going to look at it from this perspective for a second, Tim. If you or the fire department went to the paper and said the town of Litchfield has taken away our insurance, the outpour, the community rage would be much more than the Board of Selectmen would want to take on.
Right.
I can't see it happening. I think we're talking about a problem that doesn't exist, that will never exist, not as long as there's good people in this town that recognize the benefit from the call firefighting staff that we have in place.
In the warrant as written almost implies that,
Yes.
and there's no ground in fact. We've been supporting it and we'll continue to support it. I mean, I obviously can't, but just as you said, this community will support
Yeah.
those folks.
There's no doubt about it. You see how many people turn out to the ham and bean supper. Those are the same people that'd be turning out to the Board of Selectmen meeting. So,
I honestly think that we have to vote on this warrant article tonight. I don't want to think that we wait for another week on this to vote on it, because that's when we get the other things to sign on. And as written, I cannot support it, as Ray cannot support it, and I'm voting on the financial aspect of it because I know that it's wrong, okay? So my recommendation would be you withdraw the article completely, but that's a difficult thing to do because you get all the petitioners to agree to it.
Yeah, once it's
I
been
appreciate
certified,
your
I don't think
comment.
you can. I don't think you can.
You probably can, if you get, like you said, if all the petitioners agreed to it, but
You may be right, Joe.
that's a legal question.
Yeah, I mean, it may be better just to change it.
I mean,
to
this has a
limited,
lot
so-
of pitfalls in it. It really does.
Absolutely, absolutely. It puts the actual insurance at risk.
No,
I
I
mean,
appreciate your insight. So,
So you do realize that the Attorney General has said that this policy can't exist as it is anymore?
why?
Well, then it just needs to be changed, but it's not a budget.
Well, there's a very simple answer to that. And the very simple answer to that is that the town is writing the entirety of the check. The town is able to purchase the policy.
The association may not be.
The association may not be able to. The town may be able to. Now, I realize that changes years of tradition. On the other hand, it is a somewhat unusual situation for the town of Litchfield to pay in the entirety something that is not held by the town of Litchfield.
Makes no sense. The town ought to be paying for it.
So, I think the Attorney General is a little bit of a red herring here. If the association can't hold it, then the town can hold it. We're eligible to buy that policy.
And it can be extended to our call firefighters. And that's what we've been doing in
So,
practice.
just as a question, if somebody breaks their arm at the ham and bean supper or at the service awards ceremony, they give service pins to community service people, would they be covered by that insurance policy if the town owned it?
A call firefighter breaks it on?
No, but
On-
they're
on
covered
a-
under the general liability and the umbrella.
the town,
covers
yeah.
all
Of the town.
and school property.
It's the same policy you have today. The same it would be the same policy, except it would be, the purchaser of the policy would be the town of Litchfield, who right now is the organization that writes 100% of the check for it.
And the problem comes into play with the FSLA laws, and I tried to allude that a little earlier when we started to talk about the money, the firefighter wages that were set to it. And I specifically asked the question about volunteering, and actually, hand me the green book. There's I don't think I'm speaking out my butt, and I don't want, it's the principles of law, I had to go learn about all this stuff. The problem boils down to volunteers. You can't, and it says it verbatim in here, you can't volunteer to do your job as a firefighter. You can volunteer to be a Little League coach, but you can't volunteer to be a firefighter. And what happens here is, the open house is a perfect example. The open house, nobody was getting paid from the fire department. They, according to the FSLA laws, they weren't employees, and when you follow all the laws, if they're not employees, they can't be covered by your insurance, particular workers' comp. I know you're rolling your eyes, but this is the way it is.
Where was the event, if I recall correctly, the open house was held on town property, correct?
Well, here's the question: were the fire department doing jobs as firefighters? Were they volunteering as firefighters?
I'm not getting into this kind of discussion. It's not germane to the
With all
budget
due
right now.
respect, I mean, this is more of a Board of Selectmen. Legal. So, I heard Mr. Spencer say you're comfortable with voting on this warrant tonight. Other committee members' thoughts? If so, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, okay. You want a motion?
If there's one gonna be moved,
I move Article 21.
okay? Is there a second?
A second for discussion.
Okay?
Yeah, my concern is that next Thursday, I believe, is when the MS, whatever's, 27th and 7th are going to be signed on,
We have to validate that with the town.
okay?
And with the
And that has to show our recommendations on each warrant article, including this warrant article. And I don't propose meeting on Tuesday night, okay, to vote on this thing, because I don't see anything that's going to change between now and
It's
Tuesday
my
night.
understanding we have until Thursday, but, right?
Well, you would call, and you were talking about a Tuesday night, oh, maybe it was a Thursday night.
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you vote
but
for it
anyways.
tonight, you can come in and sign the warrant.
Yeah.
Or we can just meet at Town Hall, similar to last year. and
Exactly.
sign it
Yeah,
independently.
And again, as written, and it's going to go to the deliberative as written,
Yep.
it needs a recommendation on it, and I'm not going to change my mind between now and next week. It's a wrong article, it shouldn't have any money in it.
We have a
And
motion and a second. Additional discussion?
Yeah, I want to make it clear that, obviously, just like the town's paying for it now, they should, it makes sense. This does really concern me. You said it. If it's say no, that means now you can't. But now the warrant article exists, and so I can't agree with the number either, because it's already in the budget. But I agree with what's taking place. So this one's just a very confusing one for me, so I guess I can't support it either, but I don't know a way out of this right now.
Just, how many petitioners signed this to make this an article?
At least 25.
Okay.
I mean, that's the threshold. As long as it meets that test.
That's what makes it
Right,
eligible.
that's what
Okay.
makes it eligible.
refresh my memory, can we change our recommendation after the deliberative session?
Yes.
And then have it appear in the ballot that way?
Yes.
So my suggestion is that
Only
we,
if the warrant articles change.
If the
Yeah, I'm sorry.
appropriation
Only if the
changes.
warrant articles change.
yeah, and my suggestion would be that we vote on this, it's a money article, I'll vote no. If they come into the deliberative session and wipe out all the dollar amounts on this thing, then we have a reason to change our recommendation. Because I think it's a financial issue we're talking about here.
Okay. Right?
In closing, the only thing that concerns me is that we're voting on it the same night we got it, and without any time to get any more feedback or do any research on it, which is.
True, but it's straightforward,
Other than I
right?
have the history I hold as, you know, as a town
But-
volunteer, I just,
But we're only voting on the financial aspect here and not on whether it's an issue, whether it should be provided or not. That's not what we're talking about here.
Just to add my 2 cents in, I think the insurance for the firefighters is very important. I'm afraid this puts that in jeopardy, so that's my concern and why I feel that the right thing to do is not to support it tonight. And if, like you said, if wording changes and dollar amounts change, at that time we can revisit it. But I'm afraid it does more damage than good.
You know, and just to echo other comments made, right, my 2 cents is that it, from a theoretical perspective, I appreciate what you've come and you presented this evening. It definitely provides visibility into the areas that you've addressed. The article is very vague, right? And if this goes to ballot, I am concerned that it will create a lot of confusion within the community in its current state. I do not support it, not because of not what the intent is, but because it doesn't make sense the way it's written, right? And the financial aspects within this article suggest that we're double paying, right? Both as an article and within the operating budget.
Why isn't it in a line item? Why hasn't it been shown if we've been paying it?
It is.
I think it's under,
Look under short-term, if you're in the fire department, go to line 212, short-term disability insurance, call company insurance.
Tim's point, he feels is underfunded, I think it's
Okay.
only 35, but, you know, again, the town, it's there, we're gonna deal
Right.
with it.
Thank you.
Okay, motion in the second, additional discussion? All those in favor of moving Article 21, please say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained?
Aye.
Motion fails 071. Okay. Did I get that count right? Did I get that right? Okay. Thanks for helping me out.
And remember, next year we'll have another member.
Right.
39 something.
Okay. Any additional public input tonight?
Is there a second round?
There is, absolutely. Okay, moving on to review additions, modifications to tonight's abbreviated agenda, hopefully. Okay, we have the minutes from January 9th that were circulated. Did everybody receive the minutes?
Yeah.
I get a yes from you, that means they went. That's good, that's a start.
Yes, yes,
Did
yes.
everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Any motions to move the minutes from January 9th?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, second by Mr. Peoples. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 701. Okay. School business, Mr. York?
The school board would like the town to vote on warrant Article 1 as modified.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Did we vote that earlier?
we did that earlier.
Did you guys vote that in there?
Come on, yeah, at the first meeting.
That was
First part of the
that was
meeting.
the first round that we did.
Voted the, oh, okay.
We accepted 20,931,024.57,
Okay.
Must have dozed off during that one.
right? And that was 800,
Okay, I voted for it then.
correct?
How about that?
800? Yeah.
There was a lot of votes going on down there. I didn't know what all I was voting there for.
You shouldn't say it.
Oh.
That's not a way you want to say it.
You sure you want to vote on it, Tom?
I guess not.
I guess I'm more in my element sitting down than I
Yes,
used to. It's gonna be it, right?
It's easier to hear.
We would like to open up discussion and a revote on Article 2.
Okay.
We're moving to reopen?
Moving to reopen.
We have a motion by Mr. York, second. I will for discussion.
I gotta find out, so,
And for those that are watching, this is the LEA collective bargaining agreement, where there is a estimated increase of $213,383.
reason for reopening?
There's a motion and a second.
I said, and the reason for
Yep.
reopening.
Oh, the reason for reopening, we would like to make sure that all questions have been answered and that the 3 members of the Budget Committee that had abstained have an opportunity to ask their questions and revote.
I'm open for talking about it.
Okay? So I guess the question is specifically directed for the members that abstained.
Actually, we
or
have to
anybody
vote on
that-
reopening the budget, reopening the item.
I'm sorry?
We have to vote
We have to vote on reopening.
Thank you. All those in favor of reopening Article 2, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Abstained? Motion carries 5-0. Right? Okay. All right, discussion.
Well, we want to make sure that all questions, we did answer some questions, so we want to find out if there's any other questions that you had for the school district.
I was happy with the answers. My vote will still stay the same, which was a no.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. All those in favor of approving Article 2, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstained? All right, so I heard 4-0, correct? Motion fails.
That was just recommended by a 4-4 vote. Doesn't fail.
Right. It's.
So help me understand this. Help me understand this
It
one.
gets registered as a 4-4 vote, right?
Not recommended.
Basically, no vote.
Okay.
And what would end up happening is the vote that was held prior to this would stay, remain in effect.
So 4-1-3 is the vote that happened previously, so that is,
You're trying to replace what the previous vote.
That's correct.
that was the
And
motion.
if this reconsideration failed, the previous vote stands.
Okay.
Yep.
So motion fails, that means we're back to the vote of 4-1-3. Okay. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Byron.
I don't believe there's any other school issues.
Okay. Is there any other voting?
I don't think so.
Okay, town business. Mr. Brunel?
Any business.
Okay.
Taking care of everything up front and back.
All right,
so.
moving on to member input. Just as a reminder, we have the MS7 as was discussed, as well as the MS27. Be on the lookout. I will confirm both with the town and the school what our process will be for signing that. Originally, the thought was we would meet next Thursday to sign if we were going to have a meeting and vote on articles. Now that we don't have articles to vote on, it may be similar to last year where we independently go to the school and the town for signature. Okay?
Just a comment about that, make
Yeah.
sure that my name is Cynthia. That's my legal name. Because I get put as Cindy and everything. But when it comes to the actual things I have to sign, it should say Cynthia.
Got it? Notated. Okay. Any other member input? So at this time, our next budget committee meeting will be to be determined.
After deliberative session.
Yeah.
You want to post a meeting after deliberative session.
Okay. All right, so I'll look at the calendar and get something
Oh,
scheduled.
they're on the same day.
No, one's on the first.
So you're on the 5th, right? And that's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday.
So maybe we'll target February 6th.
I'm sorry, you do it the same night as
Yeah,
deliberative.
same night.
Oh, it has to be the same night as
We
deliberative.
meet right after the deliberative session.
Yep,
Both on town, well, not on town, right?
Yep.
yep.
Just,
On town and school?
no, we'll have the school deliberative session
Budget committee.
closes, then we meet and see if we want to make any changes.
Okay,
And then same thing with the town, when we do the town.
all right.
Okay.
But the town's on the 1st and we're on the 5th.
Yeah.
So we'll have 2 sessions on the 1st and the 5th.
Town
What?
Yeah,
deliberative.
Okay?
deliberative and budget meeting.
Okay. All right. 2-1 and 2-5. Public input. Mr. Miller, welcome.
Why don't you turn that down?
Dennis Miller, 37 Wren Street. Mr. Chairman, I would encourage you to go back and look at previous warrant articles, because I think you'll find 440 votes from the Budget Committee listed.
Yeah, I thought so.
specifically on the bond for a school, there was a 4-4-0 vote. While I respect Mr. Byron's opinion that it rolls back, I would encourage you to go back and look or consult town council, as I suspect the school board will ask their council as to whether the 4-4 vote is the representative vote or not of the budget committee.
Isn't 413 more favorable?
It is more favorable, but
It's following the
I don't know
law.
what the argument is here.
I was an advocate for coming back and getting the abstentions on record,
Yep.
simply because you guys are elected, you guys and ladies are elected to make votes, and you should have every opportunity to make that vote. And while I respect we're not going to vote on the same night, as Mr. Peoples said, that's happened multiple times.
Yep.
Whether or not there's a financial impact. So I don't buy I can't vote tonight because we just got it, because you just voted tonight on something you got, even if there is no monetary impact. So you're saying there's some
That's a budget
threshold.
committee decision to do.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
But I don't buy a member saying, I'm not going to vote because I just got it tonight. And the next meeting, voting, or that same meeting, voting 2 other warrant articles that were brand new that had budgetary impact and not abstaining on all of them.
So, Mr. Brunel, from a town council perspective, can we confirm the standing of a 4-4-0 vote?
And there is a difference. There can be 4-4 votes, but what happens here is that was to replace a vote. So when the motion fails,
It
the original
reverts
vote
back.
stands. So there can be a 4-4, but only if that's the original.
And that's fine, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
I don't know whether the 4-4-0 was the first vote, a 10th vote, or what the condition, I just remember there being one
Yep.
So just
on
to
the
be clear,
ballot.
it was 413 originally,
He voted to change.
voted to change tonight to 440. That failed, so it reverted back as a committee to 413,
But
which
is
we
there
will
a-
confirm with council.
Is there a distinction if we were voting on on a bottom line of a budget to either remove money or add money or something, as opposed to just a simple recommendation, which is what this is? So we need to know if there's a distinction between making an actual repeat vote to change numbers or just to change a recommendation, which has no bearing whatsoever on the wording of the contract. That's the distinction.
And I think once you voted to open up the warrant, the previous vote went away. Because now you're revoting the warrant because there's no changes to anything.
So
now
let's
you're
not speculate.
doing that.
Let's get council opinion, and we'll take it from there.
And I think that's just a notation at the bottom of the warrant, and if somebody wants to reopen it, at whatever point, if it changes, then you guys could do that.
Okay?
My second comment is more on process. First, I want to thank you for opening and correcting the school budget. Mr. Cutter sat through the discussion we had about whether we needed to vote or not tonight at the school board meeting, so I appreciate that. One thing that bothered me was the school board rep requested a meeting before the budget hearing to reconsider that to have the right number and was denied. The town came forward with new numbers that they voted and got a meeting. I don't understand why the town changing numbers after the budget committee had voted.
Yep.
They didn't. We didn't vote on the town number.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, you did.
we did.
It went down it was
That
was tonight.
4-0 to reopen.
That was tonight.
My point was, the meeting happened after the town changed their budget.
There's.
Whereas the budget committee
We did the
knew-
same thing with the school.
No, I requested a meeting and was told no. Wait a minute.
We voted on both
No, no, no.
both the town and the
I
school
requested,
tonight.
wait a minute, though. I requested a meeting from the chairman of the
I
budget
understand that.
committee to have a meeting to open our budget up before the hearing. I was told no, it couldn't occur.
Right.
The town then came and said, I want a meeting.
We didn't have one.
You had a meeting.
When?
Right there.
You had it
On the
out there.
auditorium. So.
In the town and the school.
But we were told it wouldn't occur till after the hearing.
Which is a moot point, because we did it anyways.
It is, but it shouldn't have been that way.
Well,
all-
there's a
yeah, we've done
rationale
the
for
right
that,
way.
if you'll let me explain, right? The difference was, last Thursday, when this committee convened, it was unanimous decision to not meet prior to the budget hearing. Unanimous. All members, including the school board. Okay? That being said, I actually put out an entertainment to have a meeting on this past Tuesday, which was respectfully declined. Okay? The difference between the school and the town is there's new warrant articles that were presented from the town, not necessarily the budget, which is why we reopened. So we had the meeting prior to the hearing tonight, so the committee could have a review of the warrant articles specifically before going into the hearing presentation.
So if the school board would have brought forward a brand-new article, independent of anything the town did, it
I would have done the
happened.
same thing.
It wasn't clear. It was implied that there was a budget change that was triggering that. And the fact that there was a known error in what was being
And ju-
presented is where I was going.
And just
So
to
thank
also
you
be
for
clear,
clarifying.
I spoke personally to Mr. Barker, right, regarding the right way forward prior to any decisions being made.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dennis, I'd like to comment on your thoughts about getting an article and then voting on it the following week. There's a big difference between a contract with many issues in it and getting that on a given night and not seeing it for the first time and then being expected to vote on it that night, and something that is clear cut in terms of what's being asked for. Big difference, okay? Contract is serious business, and it's not something that should be voted on without doing some deep, deep thoughts about it, okay? So I respect what you said, but there are some things you just gotta take your time on, and other things, as you know, because you've been in it, that you can look at it and understand exactly what's happening and say, yeah, that's fine.
But I would argue you should have only considered the monetary value, which is the purview of this board, and that was presented
Oh, no.
with the impact, and you can't change it.
No, no, no.
You've stated many times, Bill, that we should only, the Budget Committee only votes on the monetary impact.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And
And you voted on 2 other monetary impact
And-
articles that
and-
night
and I
and
asked-
didn't abstain. Well, you abstained on one of them and not on the other.
I asked on some specific questions on the contract. I got them back, and you heard my vote tonight.
Oh, I did.
Okay?
I'm just looking
But
for that
there are still other
consistency.
things I would like to know about that contract. I would like to know more about the healthcare. I would like to have that kind of discussion. We didn't have that opportunity, and that would be a financial issue. Okay.
Well, I would argue that you had the representative and the chair at the meeting to have that discussion, but if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. That's fine. I'm okay. I'm just looking for the consistency,
Yeah, I
that's all.
understand. And you understand how it's good to be prepared, right?
Okay. Public input, any more? Mr. Byron, welcome.
Frank Byron, 8 Mallard Court. I'm here as a private citizen, so I'm not speaking as a selectman. 2 things. Number 1, this is called second guessing yourself. And what I want to say is, when you took the vote and it tied it 4-4, I am now going to, in my opinion, say that that vote should be recorded as 4-4. The motion that you made, which was to reopen the budget, is similar to a motion to reconsider. And when you basically agreed to reconsider it, that should be the vote that goes onto there. That would be my recommendation to the
Okay.
Budget Committee. I would agree with you, get the opinion of council, and take appropriate steps as need be.
That's the way to
The
go.
reason I say that is, if the motion had come out of a vote like 8-0, there would have been an effort, there would have been something to put on to the ballot at 8-0. If it came out of 0-8, you would have put on 0-8. So you can't
What's the difference?
put it one way or the other. The only stipulation would be at a 4-4 vote, you would basically have to say, vote was 4-4, no recommendation. And that should be what would go on to the ballot. So this is second guessing myself, take it for what it's worth, get an expert's opinion, and don't trust geeks that are in the audience.
You know, if the school reaches out to their council, right, and the town reaches out to the council, and they disagree, where do, you know, what do we do?
Then you split the difference and you take the average of them.
Because you know that's exactly how this is gonna work.
Oh, absolutely, I'll guarantee you that's the way it'll work.
School council is the driver because they decide what goes on the ballot.
I think you have to look at it honestly as to what would you do no matter which way the vote came out? If it came out 8-0, what would you do? If it came out 0-8,
Yep.
what would you do? And I think that based upon that, you'd probably come to the conclusion that you should record the last vote, because in effect, your reopening of the budget really is a motion to reconsider, and that's what you agreed to. So, but anyways, don't take my word for it. The second point is I wanted to understand the Budget Committee's reticence to take up the $2,000 change. The Board of Selectmen are going to be forced into a position of having to take action on that and execute that, no matter what the vote of the Budget Committee is. The reason for that is, it is not the town's money, it is the employees' money. And the issue is going to be that that money has to go back to the employees, or else we're basically in a situation where we're holding other people's money and not giving it back to them. So we have to move that money back to the employees. That's excess money that's coming in to the town from the insurance issue that happened between LGC and the state of New Hampshire. And part of that money is the town's, part of that money is the employees who paid it into the system. And that money has to go back to the employees. We have no choice in that. Or, excuse me, the selectmen have no choice in that. So if the Budget Committee, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but those are the facts of the situation. Thank you.
What would have happened, don't move it, what would have happened if you just found out about this next week?
We would have to give it back.
But what would you have done budget-wise?
We probably, you'd have to ask the selectmen. I'm here as a private citizen.
You understand my question, Frank, it's all a matter of timing. If it came in after we had this budget hearing,
Timing's irrelevant. It came in ahead of the budget formulation, and it should be considered as part of the budget if you're going to present an accurate budget to the citizens.
timing is not irrelevant. Timing is the whole issue we've had here, because this stuff has been coming in dribs and drabs at the last minute, and it's made it a very difficult time for this committee to do its business.
The bottom line on it is, we became, or the Board of Selectmen became aware of it relatively recently. The Board of Selectmen addressed it when they became aware of it, and the Board of Selectmen made the Budget Committee aware of it. If you want to discuss it, I would suggest discuss it with the Budget Committee rep from the Board of Selectmen, but I wanted to make sure that the Budget Committee understood the reasons for it, number one, and number two, the fact that the selectmen are going to have to move on that, no matter what the Budget Committee decides.
And as long as you
Thank you.
understand that if this had occurred in 2 weeks, you still would, or after the deliberative session, you still would have had to move on it and pay it out. Now, the fact is, we had at least 2 members of this committee that felt that the proposed operating budget was too big, and had made motions to cut it, okay? And so you come in with $3,000 to add to a number that members of this committee think is too big already, just made no sense.
The only thing I would state is that at last Thursday's meeting, the town did advise the committee that this was going to occur. We had to wait for the Board of Selectmen's meeting to actually approve it, but we gave you the numbers, so you knew it was coming. And I didn't anticipate you voting it down. I understand why you did this based on your last comment. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So I think the answer to your question, though, is the town will still be paying it. It'll come out of somewhere.
Yeah.
May I?
Please.
I want to speak about that 4-4 vote. I mean, I appreciate Mr. Byron during community input clarifying. Mr. Miller has to say, talking about process. Mr. York wanted something other than an abstention on the ballot. This committee took a vote. We opened it. It's 4-4. And if it wasn't for a comment from an audience member, not during community input, albeit during community input he did clarify, that would have went down as 4-4. And we arbitrarily changed it and then decided to seek counsel. I think that should be recorded as 4-4. If you still want to seek counsel, go ahead. If you want to spend the money, that's fine, if you think we need to. I think Mr. Byron's comment during community input and also Mr. Miller's made a lot of sense. I think the legal vote should be in the minutes at 4-4, as no recommendation 4-4. And then if you want to seek legal counsel to change it, then so be it. But I don't think there was a cause or an appropriate legal cause to change it when we did.
Okay. You know, I'm on a rock and a hard place.
I
on
think
this
we
one.
will call it, I think it.
I want to do what's legally correct to do,
We
right?
took a
And I
legal
don't
vote.
have, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have the education to say whether it should be 4-1-3 or 4-4-0. But whatever the right decision is, based upon council's input, is what I want recorded on the ballot. And that's where I need the support to get that.
And I agree with you 100%, so
Do I want to spend
basically,
the money? No.
we took the vote, the minutes should reflect that.
Yes.
And then, due to a community input after the fact comment, if doubts were brought up, then we could say, let's bring it to legal counsel, but the vote did take place, and that's what should go in the minutes. And then we do, and then if there's any doubt, which was brought up after the fact or on community input, then we have to then, I agree, change it. But right now, the minutes should reflect 4-4, because that's what the vote was. And from this committee, but there was a comment, you know, again, I don't want to make it sound the wrong way, but an inappropriate comment from an audience member
But we're
during
still
a
in
meeting.
public input, so Mr. Byron, if you'd like to come up and share what you said
No,
before.
no, because I just commended Mr. Byron and said during
Yeah,
community input, he spoke, and I appreciate that, but during the comment during the vote, when the minutes were typed,
Yep.
is what changed it, but the vote was 4-4.
The bottom line is the minutes will reflect what we voted on, the wording we
Right.
voted on. It'll go to the school council will decide what should go on the ballot. one way or the
Yeah,
other.
the real
it's
question is what's on the
recorded
ballot. The
in-
vote is the vote. We agree, I totally agree. I don't think anyone's saying the
Right,
vote's
but
not
I'm just
4-4.
saying, because the minutes right now,
Their vote is 4-4.
It's 4-4, but what gets represented on the warrant when it gets published?
I agree with you, but
That's
I'm
the
just
question.
talking the minutes right now as we leave here. What did the minutes say, Michelle?
4-4. Yeah, that's captured.
Yeah. That-
Yeah, we
that
can't change
action
that, and-
happened, yeah, you can't change that.
I think initially Frank's comment was, and I, firstly, you know, Frank has been around for a long time and has a lot of experiences, so his feedback is, I think, is valuable.
I agree 100%.
So I think his comment was, because it failed, you have to, you know, you have to represent what you original vote for, which was to recommend.
And that might be the case.
But I think after he thought it through, it actually makes more sense that it's
Right.
not to recommend, or no recommendation, it's a 4-4 vote, it's a dead heat.
Right.
And I think that's probably what council will probably end up saying.
All right, so we confirmed in minutes that it's a 4-4-0 vote. The discussion regarding council is all about how it will appear on the ballot,
Yes.
not reflective of the vote
Correct.
within the committee in the minutes.
And that's really not our input.
Okay.
It's the
So,
school.
yeah, my question would be is, it sounds like it should go to school council, not the town
Yeah.
council.
Oh, come on.
I,
Pick up the $300 tab, man. Come on.
Ours is not $300. I don't know what you're paying your council.
well,
for.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but as a budget committee, I believe we're covered by the town and not the school, which is why I look to you.
But it's
And I
not,
can
it's
certainly
not
ask
a
the question,
budget
but-
committee question.
But a budget committee council question.
But it's
No,
not your warrant.
not.
They're the ones
It's
that are
not.
represented.
It's a school question
Guys, your
to
vote
what goes
is-
in the
I-
ballot.
Your vote is 4-4. That's probably what will be recommended on the,
Okay.
no recommendation from the budget committee, 4-4 vote. But our council always reviews our ballot, and we'll have a conversation with them about it.
Andrew, whatever you want, just let me know.
Okay?
I
Thank you very
think
much.
it's for both, because they probably want to find out for their own information, but as the budget committee is represented by the town, and it's a question of what is our recommendation going to be on the ballot, and I think that's town council's.
Which is why I look to
Yeah,
Mr. Brown.
yeah.
Okay.
All I gotta say, the last thing is,
It's not, because the recommendation that goes on the ballot is set by the RSA.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's going on there. And those are the guys that put the recommendation there. Same way with the town, they put the town recommendation.
I don't care what
on there.
lawyer gives us an opinion, to be honest with you. I
I
just
don't
want
care
a
either.
lawyer.
guys,
to
we
opine.
made it this close to the end without having to go to a lawyer this year.
Move to
Look at
adjourn.
that close.
Okay?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, second by Mr. Pascucci. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 8-0-0. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.